everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 2 of Wotakoi, Love is Hard for an Otaku. And yeah, so episode 1, we've met these kind of flawed, interesting characters. We have Narumi, and we also have Hirotaka, Naru and Hiro, who have formed an unlikely but not surprising dynamic as they've agreed to help each other. We're definitely not dating. Of course we're not dating, but, we're just assisting each other and possibly, maybe being in a pseudo relationship, but it's not dating. No. Meanwhile, we have Hanako, who I love her. She is fantastic so far. And we also have Taro Kabakawa, or is it Kabakura? Their names, for some reason, are not clicking with me, so I had to write them down to be like, I remember Narumi and Hirotaka, but Kabakura, his name, I might just call him Taro, because his name does not stick in my brain. I'm having the most trouble with it, but we'll get there. But anyway, yeah, so we've established this workplace. Hiro and Naru, they have history with one another. Poor Hiro, he clearly likes Naru. And Narumi's just like, what? We're just friend-zoned besties. And it's like, girl. And she keeps wondering why she can't get the guy that she likes. And I'm like, because he's standing right in front of you. That's why. And there's this game involved, and they are characters in a game, perhaps, and they've all been playing it, maybe. I don't know about Taru, but it definitely seems like Hanako and Narumi are into the same game. Hiro's into it. We don't know about Taru yet, so that's where we are. But anyway, before we begin, I want to give a shout out over to the philanthropy tier over on Patreon. Thank you all so much on Patreon for supporting me. I am thankful for everybody on YouTube that supports me. If you've liked my videos, if you've commented down below and I've answered your comments, if you subscribe to my channel, if you haven't, what better time? So there's definitely a lot of love and support for the channel on YouTube, and I appreciate it, but Patreon is the bread and butter of this channel, and these folks show up, turn out, and are amazing people. So the philanthropy tier, y'all give a little bit more each month, and you get shout outs to my videos, and you get to break ties in the polls, which has happened many a time before. So many shout outs to the philanthropy tier, including Alex Cornejo, Be Happy, Bisa, as well as Damage3245, Dana, Devorin, Daniel, Destiny Marie, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Liam Polzel, Lyndon, Murphew, Willie Morris, Translucent Men, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Translucent Men, as well as James. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well, but we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right in to episode 2. It's been about a week since I watched episode 1, so I feel great to dive back in. And we're going to get that here started in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. I may have to reach out to my local anime dealer and get some files to watch this series, because I'm watching it through Amazon Prime. And I mean, usually a streaming service like Crunchyroll lets the episode go all the way through, and Netflix will start to go to the next episode and skip the end credits, but it usually goes slower. Amazon's just like, you have 2 seconds to decide. And it's like, that's not enough time. Like, what are you doing? And my dog, I need to start training him where he's not doing this during the reaction. He'll do it for like 5 minutes and he'll lay down and do nothing for the rest of this discussion is probably what's going to happen. So, okay. I feel like where the ads were, that's the other thing, where the ads were placed in this episode, I'm like, did I miss something? So we're going to go back through this and talk about this. But I feel like Hirotaka, like, he has just like the most standard, basic apartment ever. And something that is kind of apparent about his character is that he really is not highly motivated as a person. Like, he gets up, goes to the living room, plays video games, and then when he starts to get ready, like, he notices he's out of coffee, and then he's just like, okay. And not just that, when he knows he's out of coffee, he's like, well, I guess that's just what it is, gets ready, and then goes to work and has his, I would be doing the same thing on a bus, except I'd be having a Walkman or like music on my phone instead of the video game. But he just doesn't say anything. He's not bothered. And up until this point, we kind of wonder, like, I think it says a lot for Hirotaka and him being kind of introverted, where he doesn't, his character's interesting because on the one hand, he's kind of introverted and he doesn't contact Narumi. He kind of just lets her talk to him or whatever. And then we see her reaction when this episode starts, but he's not really motivated. He's just kind of like doing whatever, going through the routine, but he's not bothered and he's not a dramatic person. He's basically like the most unbothered otaku gamer, and that's just it. And he just gets ready and he's very quiet, right? He's just very quiet, does his thing, doesn't rock the boat, and that's kind of his personality. And then we get the OP. Obviously the most like realistic, mundane getting ready that there is. So he goes to work. And I like the fact that when he starts up there, he's just sitting there like tapping his coffee can. He's not even opening it, which I feel like at home, when he's not around people, he's more like in his environment. He's not as bothered. And when he gets to work, as he's waiting on her to show up, he's like fiddling with the coffee can and trying to figure out what to do. And I'm so glad Taro finally Taro just came over and opened the coffee can. He's like, open up the damn can. It's like, yes. I think that Kabakura is one of my favorites so far. I really like him. I would probably be Kabakura in this series because I'm just like, meh. Like just open up the can and get it over with. So yeah. So apparently they've decided that Narumi and Hirotaka, instead of just helping each other, they are dating. That's the idea. But I understand where they're coming from in that it gets more awkward when you were friends and then suddenly it transitions to dating one another. I don't know what it is. I think that when you're just friends, there's always this mutual understanding that you're going to be there for each other, but the stakes aren't as high, because if you're just friends with someone and something happens and they move away, or if you can't be friends anymore, it's not like your support system completely falls out from under you, right? Whereas by contrast, if you're dating someone, you have all this invested time and affection and love for them. And if they leave, it's just a complete like shattering of your sense of self, and like, well, why did we break up? Was it something I did? Should I feel bad about myself? Did I do something wrong? Should I be changing things? What's going on? What's happening? Why did it fail? And so there's a lot more stakes and pressure once you start dating someone versus just being their friend. And I think that I like that Hirotaka kind of talks about it. He's like, it's a little more awkward now because we're, supposed to be expected to do things and be intimate and whatever, which they are not, which I, as somebody in their mid 30s, I'm like, I get it, everybody's busy. And I feel like as you get older, some people just like their personal space and their personal time, right? But my thing is, I'm like, are Taro and Hanako dating, or are they clearly seem like they want to date, like they're an item, but it's funny because Narumi and Hirotaka are very similar to one another. They're different, don't get me wrong, but they're very similar beings as a whole, versus Hanako and Taro. Well, I would say on the surface, Hanako and Taro seem like they're polar opposites, but they are more similar than they let on. It seems like their opposites attract, but I'm like, are they? Are they? I'm rooting for Hanako and Kabakura. I feel like they're the spicier pair to be the spicy side of Narumi and Hirotaka, who are pretty much like Neapolitan ice cream. You've got Hanako and Kabakura are like a spicy chili, like mango ice cream. And then Narumi and Hirotaka are like Neapolitan, like vanilla chocolate strawberry, basic, but the otaku version, right? So she's like, I don't feel excited or anything anymore after all this time. I don't know. Like, the thing about it is Hirotaka, I feel, is way more into her than she is into him. Or she's just trying to play it off like it's not that big of a deal because she's afraid that if she admits that she really likes him, she's like, every other relationship I've had has fallen apart and not worked. I don't want my relationship with him to fall apart. So I'm going to downplay it and not act like it's as big of a deal. And then that way maybe it'll stay together, which I get. But on the other hand, I feel like Hirotaka likes her a lot. He just is kind of quiet and awkward and doesn't know how to say it. And I feel like his feelings could have been really hurt in this episode by what she said. But luckily he's a green flag and a nice guy and takes it in stride. I was like, that could have been a pretty bad point of her saying that she is more attracted to Kabakura. I'm like, and isn't that funny? Because sometimes you think you're attracted to somebody and then you get to know them and you're like, no, actually not. The funny thing is, Kabakura doesn't like her. Kabakura thinks Narumi is like, he's like, she's bad at her job. She's just like, plays up her cute factor. She doesn't have boobs. Like, everything about her he doesn't like, which is funny because everything he says he doesn't like is the polar opposite of Hanako. Big boobs, boss attitude, has everything together and is good at her job. All three things polar opposite from Narumi, and Kabakura doesn't like Narumi's traits, so it's like, then you clearly like Hanako's traits. And then Narumi, because she doesn't want to maybe admit that she likes Hirotaka because she doesn't want to ruin the relationship chances based on her previous encounters, says that she would prefer the type of Kabakura, and then of course it's within earshot of Hiro, which I feel bad for Hiro because I was like, I would feel awful if somebody said that to me. Luckily for Narumi, Hiro is like the most chill person in existence, like the most chill otaku. She's like, it's just kind of awkward. She's like, act normal. You're too gloomy. I like when she looks over. He looks like Gendo off of Evangelion. He's literally doing the Gendo pose. Like, that is hilarious. Which is funny because I think, doesn't one of them like Eva? Is it Hiro? Either Hiro or Kabakura likes Eva. We'll get to that point here. He's like, did you guys have a fight? And he's like, who knows? Dating sims aren't my specialty, so I don't know. Old Sheldon Cooper over here is trying to figure out how to woo Narumi, but he doesn't understand the feminine wiles. And I'm like, she's not that hard to read. She just is severely doubting herself. But I like that Kabakura tells him not to view everything as a video game because it's not. And he shouldn't view it as like a dating sim because dating sims are, you know, kind of controllable and predictable. And that's not how dating in the real world works. But yeah, he's like, go talk to her before this has a negative impact on your work. And he's like, okay. I think it's hilarious that Kabakura talked so badly about Narumi and then Hanako talked up Hirotaka. So just the fact of how they each handled it was really funny. He's like, try to raise your affection levels through individual events. He's like, I told you not to do it like a game. So then Hanako's like, well, to tell you the truth, she's like, I'm jealous. She's like, he's good at his job. He seems like the type who won't cheat. Probably not, because he's not interested in anybody else. And he's an otaku, and he's accepting of otaku like us. He's an otaku himself. She's like, you know, he has a nice figure, so I bet he'd look good doing cosplay. I mean, all the things she lists about Hirotaka, I'm like, these are all good things. And maybe that's why Narumi is afraid, because she's afraid she'll drive him away, that she's finally met this person that literally is perfect for her. And her track record, she's like, I'm doing something wrong. I don't want to drive him away. So I'm just going to try to like keep a little bit of a distance so he's not like, he doesn't figure me out and realize whatever bad thing is on me that I don't know myself. But if you keep him at a distance, then like he says at the elevator, you're going to think that he's going to think you don't like him. And that's not the case. So we'll get into that in a minute. But I wondered if maybe, you know, the same thing she talked about applied to Kabakura because he's good at his job. He has a nice figure. The only thing that she says that I think doesn't quite apply to Kabakura versus Hirotaka is Hirotaka does not care that they're otaku. He just kind of goes with the flow and he's like, whatever. Kabakura seems a little bit more like he tries to put on some airs and doesn't want to seem like a desperate after work otaku, even though he totally is. He tries to like say, oh, I'm too cool for that. But really he's buying the same, you know, kind of otaku manga that they are at the same store. He just doesn't want to admit it. Interesting. She's like, this is what my face looks like when I'm not thinking about anything. And I like that Hanako says he's a top quality piece of real estate. Why are you unsatisfied? And she's like, I'm not unsatisfied. She's like, to tell the truth, Kabakura is more my type. And I'm like, girl, and that's the other thing too. Her saying Kabakura is her type and Kabakura doesn't like her. I'm like, that explains why these relationships you've had before Hirotaka don't work out. You are saying you're attracted to men that don't like you back. Like, girl. And I kind of get where she's coming from because you would probably ask yourself and say, well, if she's liking these guys that don't like her back, how are they dating her? Oh, they will. I similar to Narumi, have a very horrible track record of dating guys that they're like, sure, I'll date you. And then I get really invested. And then they're just like, actually, I changed my mind. And I'm like, our heart breaks. And you're just like, thanks. Thanks for stomping over my soul. I appreciate it. And they're like, I'm not really into it. But then, yeah, of course, that's when she looks over and sees Kabakura's like, oh my God, why would you say that? I liked the options of, what was it? Fight, befriend, run, or money. Like, what was she going to do with money? She's just going to be like, just throwing dollar bills at him. And then she like, Naru, can we run? I like the voice on the video game, like, Naru, we can't run. Like, I like that voice. And I like that Hanako tries to use persuasion in the moment. And she's like, Naru is scared about all of this, so just give her some more time to sort out her feelings. But then Kabakura's like, that's bullshit. He's like, the issue between them is the fact that outsiders shouldn't interfere, and we should let them, his chivalry is activated, let them work it out. And I just, Koyanagi, like, Hanako and Kabakura look like they would have some very intense, intimate sessions. I'm just saying. I bet it would be intense. And maybe it is. I don't know if they're dating or if we find out they're childhood friends. They've gone to the same school. They were both volleyball captains. I don't know. Hanako gives off major setter vibes. Hanako, and which is funny because I'm literally wearing a Haikyuu volleyball shirt for this episode. Hanako gives off major setter vibes. Kabakura gives off either middle blocker or opposite vibes. So we'll see. Neither of them give off libero vibes. He would be a middle blocker probably. I don't know. They give off the vibes of if like Suki and Kageyama were in a relationship. But yeah, she's like, you have a habit of lecturing people. And he's like, you're not a little kid anymore. Show consideration for the people around you. So yeah. So it says the Kabakura and Hanako Koyanagi, Taro, they were both volleyball captains in high school. Okay. They fought fierce battles over who got to use their school's tiny gym. It was an explosive situation. They fought like cats and dogs. These are a rare type of otaku, those that are also good at sports. I feel like it's not so rare anymore. I went on a tour of a college dorm a few weeks ago. I was doing it just for some research for recruitment. And I went into this basketball player's dorm and I like walked around, and that we had asked before if we could take a tour of their dorm room just to see like the layout and everything. And he was like, yeah, sure. We got to tour his bedroom. He had a One Piece poster on the wall. And I was like, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to call him out in case if he didn't want to be called out, but he had a One Piece poster on his bedroom wall. And then by his bed was like a little nightstand, and there was Blue Lock manga inside the nightstand. And I was like, you're an otaku. You're a secret sports otaku. Love it. So I was like, yes! But I was so proud. I didn't say anything, but I was like, that's cool. So yeah, she tries to run away, and then I love the animation of her running away. Hilarious. And so Hirotaka like kabadons her against the elevator. And what does she say there? He's like, and he says, I'm sorry. And he's like, I didn't mean to scare you. Which it did come across a little bit scary. He's like, I wasn't sure how much space I should give you. I can relate a lot to Hiro because it is awkward and hard to navigate the start of a relationship because it's like, how talkative are you? Do you text every day? Do you text every other day? How much space does your partner want? I'm like, I have told my friends, I'm like, is it bad that I just want like somebody on the weekends? With it on the weekdays, I'm fine. Like, just, is that weird? But I feel like Hirotaka, like, I don't know how much space to give you. He's like, we were much closer when we used to be friends. Yeah. And then she's like, yeah, I shouldn't have told you that I like you. And it's like, did he tell her that he liked her? Did that actually happen? She's like, wait a minute. He never said that. And he's like, I never said that. These awkward boobs. He's like, wait, I didn't tell her that, but he does like her. Yeah. It's like viewers who don't remember should rewatch the previous episode. Yeah, he didn't say that. And then they give like the title drop. Oh my gosh, these two. Now, I will say this. I know this is based off a manga, so I feel like a lot of these things come straight from the manga in that moment, and I could see them being like handled the way they are in the manga. The hug was cute. I don't know, in my opinion, if it like immediately fit. Narumi's taken me a little while to warm up to. I really instantly relate to Hirotaka. Like, I get like the kind of quiet gamer otaku type. I get him. Narumi is a little, I feel like sometimes her emotions are a little more flimsy. And so I want to warm up to her, but she like her running away from him, and then he confronts her and is like, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, but I just don't know how to navigate this. The hug makes sense. I don't know if it's earned as much this early, but I'm fine with it. I'm glad she's at least talking to him about how she feels. She's like, it was a little awkward, but you tried your best to tell me how you felt, right? These awkward otaku. I mean, I guess. At least she hugged him. She's like, I'll try not to run away next time. I feel embarrassed when I see your face. That's good. I'm glad she's at least, being honest about those feelings. Don't say I shouldn't have told you. Good. Yeah. And then he covers up his face, which is super cute. And he's like, Donghei. I don't know what Donghei means. But she's like, what language is that? I love these two little dorks being all cutesy around each other. Meanwhile, okay, this part here is like, don't get so full of yourself because she said you're her type. You're such a mess. And he's like, I'm not getting full of myself. Why are you so mad? Honestly, I mean, I don't think Hanako should be mad that Narumi said that Kabakura is her type, because she literally just said Hirotaka was her type without saying it. So, I mean, but love works in mysterious ways. Sometimes people you think are your type are not who come out of the woodwork. So yeah, and then he says Hanako, and she's like, don't call me that at work. Now, Hanako, they were on first name basis. So, which they're childhood friends. So I don't know if they're secretly dating, and if they're secretly dating and at work they just like role play this, we don't know each other and we're against each other. I would not, considering how much Hanako likes cosplay, I would not be surprised by that if they were just role playing hating each other at work, when in reality they don't hate each other at home. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they're in a relationship right now and just not advertising it, or if they like each other but they're not advertising it either and they're not acting on it. I don't know. He's like, your name is Hanako. And she's like, seeing you pisses me off. So then he's like, oh, you didn't know. And then he says, let me explain. It's exactly what you're thinking. But then they don't explain exactly what we're thinking. So I'm like, are they dating? Are they not? Please don't tell me in the comments, or spoiler tag it so I don't read it. I will find out in the series. But for the episode, I'm like, we don't know, actually. So I'm like, And then we have to go through this advertisement. I need to just ask for the files for this series so I can avoid all the ads. But anyway, so yeah. I mean, I like the dynamic of both groups. I think that there's a lot, like both groups are kind of chaotic, but there's lots of potential of where their characterization can go from here. So I'm excited about that. So that'll be fun to see where that leads us. But yeah. So we'll get this ad over with and we go back to it. But yeah, I definitely think that I would be more in line. Like if I was at this workplace, I don't know if I would hang out with Narumi. She is not the type of person I would be friends with at work. I relate a lot to Hirotaka in a way. He would kind of be my type, I think. But at the same time, I feel like most of my friend group are really like loud and extroverted people. So Kabakura and Hanako would probably be the type I would hang out with if I was in this workplace. But yeah, so then we cut to them outside. It's weird that we cut there like immediately afterwards. So yeah, he's like, let me explain. And then And then after that, we immediately cut to, it's exactly what you're thinking, and they're outside. So we just skipped that scene. Okay. So he's like, I wasn't mad. And she's like, you're a liar. What was with that face? And he's like, no, really. It's not that I was mad, but since you were acting like that towards me, I thought that you didn't like me anymore. Which honestly is a very valid thing to say. Like, her avoiding you and not wanting to talk to you, I would get that. And then saying that the other guy's your type and not him, I would get that impression too. Again, I don't know how to feel about Narumi all the way because she just kind of like happy at the fact that he was worried she wouldn't like him. And I'm like, that is, you know, it probably isn't a steam boost to know somebody thought that. But also I'm like, don't take advantage of Hirotaka. Like, don't take advantage of his kindness. Like, you know, respond to him. Let him know that it's okay. Instead, she's like, let's just go to the arcade. So this part here, we get the intermission card, which I do like the intermission card a lot. And then I like that we have, buddy, no. We have Narumi and Hanako debating over which characters they like. So I wanted to go back to this. The heroine is the cutest. End of argument. Okay, Ayanami. Oh, so she's, okay, we are talking about Evangelion. I was like, wait, Evas, we are talking about Evangelions. Yes, she's an Ayanami fan. Okay, and she's like, well, very well. She's like the Krieg, and she's an Asuka fan. Oh, well, of course Narumi would like Rei. Okay, so Narumi likes Rei from Neon Genesis. Hanako likes Asuka from Neon Genesis. That all checks out. They're like, girls are so weird. I like what Kabakura says here. He's like, why do they always want other people to like the same thing? I think that is something interesting. And I liked Hirotaka's explanation of it. He's like, no, they're like warhawks. It's not that girls are weird. They just think that they're like warhawks. Okay, so, no. Look, here's the thing. I don't know if it's suggesting because of the subtitles. I feel like, okay, look. It's saying that Kabakura is an Eva 01 stan, which can get it. But this clearly was an older series because it says that Hirotaka is a Mari stan. You gotta go OG, my friend. So wait, is that the Eva 01? Okay, no, I'm not gonna spoil Neon Genesis, but that's interesting. Kabakura showed that because the others are the female characters, although Hirotaka's is from the newer movie, so interesting. I mean, what? No Shinji stands? No Kaoru stands? No Ramiel stands? No best girl Ramiel? How dare you? Okay, I like the Neon Genesis reference. So yeah, I will say the only part of this episode that I loved once they got to the bookstore, that part we're going to talk about, I really liked it. The part about the overtime work here was a little clunky, and I don't know if they just cut stuff from the manga, but she's like, I'm going to work overtime and get my work done. And then she's like, wait a minute, no, I'm not. I'm going to go to the bookstore. And she went, boop, boop, boop. Now I'm good to go. And I was like, wait, what about the overtime work you had? So that part was a little clunky. That part was weird. I don't know if they just cut material so they could get to the point of them all hanging out together, but it is what it is. So they all decide to go to the otaku bookstore. I like the idea that Kabakura is like a secret otaku. He doesn't want people to know he's an otaku, but he's into it like they are, which is fun. Poor Hirotaka, the fact that he can't wink. I like that Narumi does the Lucille Bluth, like that wink, but poor Hirotaka not being able to wink. And him trying to at the very end of the episode. That was so cute. Bless his heart. Bless his bones. They're like, he looks creepy. So they go to the Animate bookstore, which I was getting Steins Gate vibes, as one does. But so the animated film is set to be released as they go in there. So they start out together at the bookstore. I do agree. Narumi is probably, of the four, I'll be honest, Narumi is probably my least favorite character of the four. But I do love when she is like, walk in like you own the place. Absolutely. Also, it looked like Hanako was looking at the Ancient Magus Bride is what it looked like she was looking at, which was the manga. So that's interesting. So Kabakura does not want people to know about the manga that he gets, right? And Hirotaka seems like he's super curious about it. I didn't know if the manga that Narumi got, I don't know if that was supposed to be Beastars or something similar. I don't know. And she's like, the limited edition went on sale. So the ladies go off. She's like, I'm going to take Hanako over here and borrow you to go over to this part of the bookstore. And meanwhile, they go hang out and Kabakura's like, fine. So in the men's section, He's like, I knew this was going to happen. I should have gone to the bar first and waited. And Hirotaka's like, you don't like this kind of stuff, do you? Now, the kind of stuff he pulls up is like Yuri, like Madoka Magica Yuri, and Hirotaka raises it up. And Kabakura is like, what? I love it. I love Kabakura being like, I freaking love it, but I don't want people to know that I love it. I want it to be a secret. And Hirotaka's like, why are you slightly mad? He's like, it's not that I don't like this store. I just don't want to appear like one of those otakus that comes straight out of work. So, interesting. So he's getting this like shoujo. And he's like, I don't want to look like a hardcore otaku who came to buy manga after work. And then Hirotaka's like slowly getting near him, like just trying to figure out what he's into. And he's like, why are you following me? And I like that he explains that he's basically just doing what he does with Narumi. Again, showing that Hirotaka is not really, he's a follower. He's not really somebody that has a lot of ambition and does things just on his own. He's more just motivated by what other people do, which is something that can be developed in character. And he even says there's nothing I really want in particular. He's like, I'm more of a digital ebook reader, so I'm just going to go home and play games, and I'm just here just because you all are here. I feel like there's some stuff to develop with Hirotaka, and I'm going to be curious to see what we get at. But whereas, and I like that he's like, well, do you ever come here with Koyanagi? And he's like, of course not. It's like, He's like, why do you look so surprised? Normally, I shop alone and take my time. And the genres we like are totally different. Is there a genre that you don't want her to see? And he's like, well, it's not that I don't have one. I think it would be kind of cool if he either liked this, if he secretly liked a similar genre to her, or if he liked like the Yuri manga and she liked the yaoi, and then they both came together. I think that would be interesting if that were the case. But yeah, I like that we're seeing some of the manga they're picking out, but I can't tell the titles. It's like, I'm sure they have things over there that they want to buy privately. Then we have the women's section. And we're going to get past this ad. I honestly thought that it was interesting that we got to see them in the yaoi section looking for different yaoi. We're going to see which ones they get here. But I've honestly wondered that myself. We'll get in here and look at this. But she's like, put them all in. Because we're the ones that they get. They go back and look over there. And they see like these two guys in this yaoi manga. And she's like, that's a good one. She's like, get it. And she's like, I'm putting them all in. I love it. Yes. What about this one? Oh, that one. I like there's all these women in the yaoi section because of course there are. She's like, I'll bring it tomorrow so you can read it. I've wondered about that because I obviously have yaoi of my own, as you can see on these stacks here. And then people have sent me yaoi through my P.O. box and everything. So I've always wondered, like, if I was in a relationship with somebody, because I'm, I'm on the asexual spectrum, but if I were to date someone, they would probably be masculine. So I'd be like, if they saw these yaoi, I'm like, would they be like, but why? And I'd have to be like, well, let me pull out Whiteboard Kun. And then they'd see Whiteboard Kun and be like, why do you have a dry erase board in your home? And I was like, that is a very important question. The question is, why do you not have a dry erase board in your home? And that would lead to a whole bunch of questions as well. So I'll be like, well, let me tell you about this thing called Whiteboard Kun. But yeah, it's interesting. And so they go over to look at the magazines, and I like the idea of Hanako wanting to cosplay with Narumi. And I like they have this conversation where Narumi's like, I have always had to hide the fact that I'm otaku from my friends. And she's like, now that's why I've always dreamed of doing something like this. She's like, I've never been able to go out to a bookstore and check out manga and stuff with my friends because they didn't get it. Right? I love it. And then she says here, she's like, searching for the perfect book with my soulmate after sharing our sexual interests with each other. I love this idea. And I like the fact that Narumi talks about Hanako being her soulmate. Like, you would think, like, both of them like these guys, but then they're besties. I like they describe each other as, like, otaku soulmates. We're like, we can talk about yaoi together. We can talk about our sexual interests. We can talk about the guys that we like and then like bond over manga. It's perfect. And then Hanako's like, awesome, I'll raise you cosplay. Which I do think that there's a nice point about this where she's like, the difference in our height is perfect. We'd be able to do everything. She's like, we can enhance things when they're too small. And I was like, don't make fun of her boobs. Poor thing. And she's like, cosplay, that takes courage, but I enjoy watching. And that's such a true thing. I feel like cosplay in my mind is art. It's like living art. I love cosplay contests. That's my favorite thing at a convention to go watch is the cosplay contest. I love seeing the technical details that people put into cosplay, how much work they put into it, the creativity and the ideas of how to make things that are like bending what we think of with anime and making it fashion. Like I love all these aspects about cosplay, but it takes a lot of courage to do cosplay because you are essentially becoming a piece of art on display, and it's so easy to be critiqued in cosplay. It takes a lot of courage to do it, and I am definitely, anybody that does it deserves praise because it takes a lot of guts to like go do that. The convention I went to earlier this year, I cosplayed one day as a character from Bocchi the Rock. And that was fun because it was just casual. Like you just walk around with a wig on and like casual clothes and it worked. But then the other day I was like Femme Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen. And for the most part, people were super nice and I got compliments and it was fun. But then at one point this guy walked by and he's like, cliche. And you know what? If I didn't have thicker skin, that would have really hurt my feelings. But I was like, bitch, you ain't even in cosplay. So like, whatever. I'm like, you even got the guts to do cosplay. So pshaw. So yeah, I love cosplay. It's so much fun. But I would be like Hanako. I'd be like, yes, let's do cosplay. There was like a thing with Iron Mouse that I saw on social media a few days ago where there was all these Pokemon cosplayers and they'd all did a big giant collaboration video of all of them to show the VTuber Iron Mouse, and it was so creative. My favorite was there was the Pokemon Vileplume. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, and it was this like plum suit. So it was the color of Vileplume, but it was a suit. And then they'd made a giant hat that was the big flower. And I was like, that is what I want to do. That cosplay is perfect. I was like, that's so genius and creative. People doing stuff like that is why I love anime, because it's so fun to watch. So yeah, so they end up getting all their manga and everything. And in true otaku fashion, I like that Hirotaka was kind of excited to socialize with them all. He's like, hey, do you want to go like socialize and we can go to the bars? And they're like, no, we spent all of our money, which is such a real feeling. They're like, we spent our money. No, we got to go back and we want to read our manga. So it's like a bunch of introverts are like, suddenly they get all their manga and they're like, time to go. I feel like Hirotaka actually does want to socialize though. He's just not as good at it. What's interesting is that Kabakura and Hanako both are walking the same direction home, but it shows them slightly going different ways. So I'm like, is that all an act? And then he looks over to where Narumi is going back. And he's like, this is why otaku are no good. Well, I guess that means me too. I'm going to go home and play some games. So yeah, and then we have the light on at the very end. So I swear Amazon wants to switch past this damn ED as fast as it can. So we get the ED and then we see the very next day, which the ED does show Kabakura and Hanako together, so we'll see. But yeah, I know the feeling of reading too many manga. If I get any manga in the mail, I usually want to read them during the day so that I don't stay up too late. It's like when you find a good AO3 fan fiction and it like keeps you up to like 2 a.m. and you're like, I need to sleep. So, but then she looks over to Kabakura and sees him, and she's like, oh, I love watching you stand there in an awkward panic as you struggle to hide your mushy feelings. And then her phrase says the word die behind it. She's just like, F you, you bastard. And then he smiles back, and he's like a smile bomb. And she's like, why? Like, touche. She's like, what was that? That just pisses me off. How dare he? And he's like, I don't know what's gotten into her, but it looks like she's in a good mood. She finally pooped. These two. I don't think that they're dating, but I think that they very well could by the end of this season, because there's clearly some chemistry there. And then poor Hirotaka's trying to wink. Bless his heart. Bless his poor heart. We love to see it. So yeah, I like this episode a lot. I like getting to know our characters, getting to know them a little bit more, sharing an otaku things. So much fun. But I want to hear your thoughts down below of what you think of both of these characters, of all four of them, of both of these couples. And please no spoilers. If you do want a spoiler, please put a spoiler tag so that I don't read it on accident, because I'm going to be looking at the whole series. Y'all know how I do. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah. I'm going to be back very soon, hopefully with some video files this time to watch instead of relying on the streaming service, but we'll see how it goes for Wotakoi. Love is hard for an otaku, and I'll see you there. Bye!